it is indeed the true hater stream. It is the true hater stream because I have indeed notes. I have multiple pages of notes on all of the books I'm going to be talking about because I had to rewatch TikToks of me speaking of said books to remind myself of all the shit I hate about each of them. Because most of them I've read a while back, a long time ago, so most of them I didn't remember everything, so now I have my little notes. And it's very showing because you can tell which ones I hadn't made TikTok videos about, because they're the ones that I have no notes on. But I'll have to remind myself to take notes on books and shit for next book streams, because now I don't do TikTok videos of books anymore. I'm prepared. Hello Helen, hello Ziki, hello Antoine. I have my pile of books here. Oh, fuck. I have my pile of books. Hopefully it'll be enough to last, but we shall see. Very silent comment. I haven't, thank you. I haven't worn my stuff, my fancy stuff in a while, so I wanted to. Because usually I do makeup sometimes, and I do like fancy dark. I like wearing dark academia clothes and stuff, but I just don't do it as much because like, yeah, and it's been so warm as well recently, so but yeah, but rewatching old TikTok videos, because I always try to make like a cute makeup and everything for those videos and like dress in theme with the book. So I was like, I should bring stuff back. And I have my little harness because I haven't worn this in so long, and I love wearing harnesses. The music is louder than my voice. Okay, wait. Oh, wait, I'll do it in another way because it's a bit loud for me too. Here should be fine, I think. If it's still not loud enough, I'll make my voice a bit louder. Because I don't... It's perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. Because basically everything with any kind of anything is always like, I look at the bars and I'm like, this looks about right of where I usually put it. So, you know. And I have like the mix because every time Spotify I put it louder when I start stream because you only have the music, and then I put it lower when I get here. So it's really like every time tell me, because yeah. Especially because yesterday I played around with the mic settings because I did the co-working stream, and my mic was a lot louder for the keyboard, so you could hear the keyboard and everything. But yeah. We have in total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have wait. 10 books. I counted them, reminded myself that I needed to add one because I have one that I read on my phone, so I don't have the physical book, and fully forgot what the number I had in my head was. So that's amazing. We have 10 books. Pretty much all of them are young adult books, I think. Almost all of them I've paid with my money for. One of them I won through a contest. But yeah, we shall start. Okay. If you're on Book Talk, I am very sorry because all of those books, pretty much all of those books are very, very loved on the internet. So yeah, I'm sorry in advance. So the first book is going to be The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. As you can see, my copy of it is wrecked. This book is in conditions. The reason for that, my books are usually wrecked, but this is a lot more than usually. The reason for that is because I brought this book with me to Canada, and I tried to read this book for, I think, around a year. I think it's like, I read other books in between, I think, or like paused or whatever, but I had such a hard time with this book. It took me so long to finish it. It's the only book on this list that I have from before I started reading more more, basically, because a few years ago, I think it's a motorcycle on the side. A few years ago, I decided I wanted to read more because it's something I do love. I do love books. I love reading. And I was like, well, you know what? Try to read 2 books a month. I don't really do that anymore. I just try to read a certain amount of books a year. So some months I won't read. Some months I'll read like a lot more books and stuff. But that's the only book I have from before that. Because I have no memory and I don't remember books that much. So it tells you how much I remember this book and how much it marked me. Because I still remember the pure hatred I have for this fucking book. So, this book is about this guy, Monty, who's a rich kid who is doing a tour of Europe. He's British, I think. Yeah, he's British. And he is doing a tour of Europe with his sister and his... yeah, here we see like the tours that they do and stuff, where they come from the UK, they go in France. They do a lot in France. They spend most of their time in France. But yeah. He's a rich kid, he goes on tour, also to escape his dad, because his dad is a shithead. And he goes with his sister and with his best friend, on whom he has a crush on. Yeah, the memories filled... All of these are memories filled with spite. Throughout... I will look at my notes a lot. Throughout the entire book... Ooh, Love in Deep Space, nice. Throughout the entire book, he is the most insufferable rich kid ever. He is so deeply annoying. He is so privileged, and you can really tell. He spends most of his time complaining, and when he's not complaining, he's being depressed about the fact that his crush doesn't like him back, even though, yeah, spoiler alert, his crush likes him back. Oh yeah, spoiler alert for all of the books that I'm going to talk about. I will spoil everything. Wait, I'm going to put a little... Here we go. That will be on for the entire thing, because I'm going to... Like, all of the books I'll take from... My mind on this is those are not books that deserve your money, therefore I can spoil them because it doesn't matter, because you should not buy them. This is my logic behind this. But yeah, Monty is an insufferable piece of shit rich kid. He is also so blinded because his crush is extremely clear with him multiple times that he likes him. This all happens in like the 1500s, not the 1500s, but like medieval times would not be right. In the 1700s, this all happens in the 1700s, so 18th century. So being gay was not great. So he has to still be a little bit, you know, undercover about liking his crush. And even like with lots of stuff, because I don't remember exactly, but I think there's times where like either they kiss or they tell each other stuff. He's like, yeah, but no, he didn't actually say it because he meant it and stuff. It's like, and then he's insufferable more. It's so annoying. Also, there's a lot of misogyny within the book because, of course, they're like, it's 1700, women have to be treated like shit. But it is really tapping on your nerves when the main character thinks like that as well. There is a follow-up book that is The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy that I have not read for obvious reasons. And this one is from the point of view of the sister, and she's gay as well. So that's a whole other thing. Also, this book, you wouldn't think that this book is... I mean, it is long. It is a 500 pages book. It's like... It's fine. I've read a bunch of 500 pages book at this point. I know how much time it usually takes me to read them, depending on the level of vocabulary and stuff. This took me so long because I felt like I was not advancing ever. It felt like I was lost within the book, not being able to come out, and this book had fucking gotten me as an hostage. It took me so long to read it for no good reason, because just I was repelled by this book. And if you know anything about me and how I read, you will know that I do not like not finishing books. So even though books are insufferable and I hate them with my whole entire heart, I will read them to the end, so I have all of the arguments possible to tell you why this book sucks. because I still want it to be on my list of books that I finished reading. So I will read the full fucking book, even though I hate every second of it. So this took me so long because of this. This was insufferable. Every time I came back to this book, I had a bad time. The plot is not interesting. They like steal something to one guy and then it goes, they meet two kids and it happens to be linked. And then the police kind of the guy that they stole something from comes after them because it's linked to the king. Like, it's a lot of things that if I told you point by point, you'd think, oh, that would make a good plot. It was made in such a fucking boring way. I had such a bad time. Like, honestly, reading this book, I do not recommend. No. Okay. Then, second book. This is going to be me mostly saying I did not like this. We have something I have a bit more arguments with because I remember the book a lot more, and I made a video on it at the time, and so I can. I need to have somewhere to put my books. I'll put them on the ground. It's fine. Second book. Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. So Casey McQuiston is a non-binary author and a queer author as well. I don't know for the other author, but I'm just saying because a lot of people say, oh yeah, Red, White, and Royal Blue is written by a cis straight woman. It's not the case. They are non-binary and also sapphic, I believe. Let's go. This shit, yes. This fucking shit. This one has a lot more notes on. I mean, this one is like the whole, like, this part of it. So, my first issue is with the cover. So you would, like, it's a very basic romance cover. Wait, should I do the? I'll do the blurb and then I'll talk about the fucking cover. So this story, this book. I have a chance for every bad book you're going to talk about. Try to find one good thing about it. Can just be the cover is cute. I can do that very easily because, yeah. For A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, I do like the way the typo is. I don't like the picture on the cover. I think the picture is ugly as fuck. But I do really like the way it's arranged, like the graphic design of it all, like the text and the spine is really nice. That's my one thing for that. I'm sorry, I had the brilliant idea to eat a cereal bar before I started streaming, and now I have musty in my teeth. So, Red, White, and Royal Blue. This is a story of Alex. Is it Alex? Yes, Alex and Henry. Alex here is the son of the President of the United States, and Henry here is a British prince. They fall in love and they get together. They try to kind of make it enemies to lovers, but they were not ever enemies. They just thought the other one didn't like them at the start. This is not an enemies to lovers. That's not how that works. And they get together quite quickly, so like, I wouldn't call that an enemies to lovers, but it's meant to be kind of that energy. So my first issue is this cover. It's like bright pink. It looks orangey here because my camera is extremely orange for some reason, but what is the issue with this cover, you might ask? This cover reads extremely teen friendly. The way it's put, the way it's made, and the way this book is fucking sold as well. This book usually in libraries, bookshops, is sold as a teen book, as a teen romance queer book. It's extremely available, extremely easy to pick up, and it's extremely popular, so it's kind of everywhere. My issue with that is that this book is not teen friendly. This book is extremely NSFW. Not extremely, but very. They have a big chunk of the books, once they're together, basically they just have sex non-stop. So I would say it should be at least 16 plus, honestly, because I'm not for like, oh, you're a minor, you should never read anything about sex, because no, that's what leads to unsafe sex practices. But you should be at least 16, very least 15 when reading this, because before that I think you're a bit too young maybe to read about that. And it annoys me to no end that this book could be picked up by any 12-year-old in any bookshop. because it's not made in a way that looks like it would be for older audiences. It's just like a bright pink cover with a cute little thing and a cute little two guys. I really hate the style as well. So, what other issue do I have? Well, if we're going to continue with the sex part of it, a big issue with that is that, first of all, it kind of reiterates the cliche of two gay men, of course they're going to have sex 24/7 within a book, which always annoys me when communities that are already hypersexualized are even more, especially in teen books. In the book they are both over 18, just so you know. So that's fully fine, and there are couples like that in real life, but personally it annoys me, especially when it's not coming from a gay man as well. The other addition of yes, of course, a book which centers around the romance of two gay guys is going to once again be over-sexualized. Not two gay guys, Alex is bisexual. You would know that because he has sex with a lot of people overall, and he's extremely flirty, which is a fucking bisexual stereotype. I will talk a lot about bisexual stereotypes in this video because pretty much every fucking bi character in every book in this list is a bisexual stereotype and annoys me to no ends. It really is a theme. I realized that I was making my notes that half of those books have this issue. But yeah, once again, he's bisexual, so of course he's going to flirt with everyone. He has crushes on everyone. Another issue with this book is the horrible writing. So everyone that is not the cast of young adults, so everyone else that's older, so that would be namely mostly the President of the United States, so Alex's mother and her whole team, and his dad, because that's most of the adults we meet. And then there's the British, but we don't see them as often. We mostly see Alex as part of the family. They are all the same character. They are all written the exact fucking same, and they all talk extremely weirdly. They have basically two modes. It's either they say fuck 5 times per sentence and talk like a weird, like the way a teen would think an adult would talk, or they are like, I am a parent, I am the adult in this situation, I have to be super serious about this issue. It's one or the other, and they switch on and off, and there is nothing. So, no, that's not how you write. Please stop. Something I forgot about the sex scenes as well. I'll stop talking about the sex scenes after this, but that's a point that I thought about when I was reading it, and I think really summarizes well. Is when I was reading at some point, there were so many of them that it felt like Casey McCutcheon had a list of prompts that they wanted to fulfill, like a list of like, oh, I want them to have sex there and there and there, in this way, and just click them one by one. Like it felt like an AO3 checklist of all the kicks someone would have, and so they are making all the scenes just to get off, which is fine, but not when you're publishing a book. So that's great. Yeah, it's also like turns a lot into the fetishy part. I don't know, that's fun, but like not what I would think would be in the... Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying. You don't think that cover would lead to that thing. If I was sold that book as an almost erotica book, or like a young adult book about horny young adults, I would be fine. I mean, I would still have a lot of complaints about the writing style and a lot of the character choices and other issues, but at least I would be like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. This screams cute romance, and they have cute romance moment. My one positive thing is that they have times where they send emails to each other, and the emails are really cute, I have to say. The few, that's what annoys me so much, the few moments that they have that is actually romantic are really cute, I think. So when they almost don't see each other, because one is in Britain, one is in the US, and all they do is fuck everywhere, it is extremely annoying to me, because I'm like, you have a good base that you could build upon and make an actual cute love story, and instead you just decide not to do that, and just it. And like, for people that have read the books, I am aware they start as sex friends. That is fine. They could start as sex friends and then get emotions and stuff. That is not what happens. They just continue to do that, basically. Like, there's a difference. There's a difference. It could have been done a lot better, basically. Like, it was to the point where it's almost voyeurism in some aspects. Like, you really feel like you're just kind of shouldn't be here at that point, honestly. I'm going to put that here so I don't have to be like this every time. Yes, they had also written, as said. Oh, and the last thing, of course. So, it would seem that Casey McQuiston has an issue with racism. I left that one for last. Casey McQuiston has written multiple books. Because I was tempted, honestly, to get one of the books where they write about a lesbian or sapphic couple, because that would be more their representation. So I'm like, maybe that would be written better. But then I learned that, first of all, there's issues of racism within this book. Alex is Hispanic, and boy oh boy, I haven't noticed the cliches as much, but I've seen videos of people that are Latin or Hispanic talk on it and saying how it's mostly cliches, and that happens in a lot of their books. Basically, they will make one of the two leads POC and just not write it good, and just do that over and over again and just call it representation, which is not great. We don't like that. And it seems to be a very repetitive issue with the author. So because of this reason, I will not buy another book from them, even though, because at first I was like, oh, maybe like on Sapphic Rep it would be better, because that's something that they are. I don't care to know. I don't care to know. So that's it for Red, White, and Royal Blue. It goes on the ground. Then we get my nemesis. The book that kind of started it all with me hating on books. May the Best Man Win by Z.R. Eller. It pains me how much I hate this book. It pains me because this is a queer book about a trans gay guy and a bisexual autistic guy being together by a trans gay autistic author. So I wish it was better. And also look how pretty the cover is. Look how pretty that is. I really like the cover. The cover is by... The jacket illustration is by G. Young, and the jacket design is by Cassie Gonzalez. Here we go. So yeah, it pains me. It pains me truly, because like, I would be so happy to put that on my good bookshelf because of how pretty it is, but I cannot, for the reason that this book is garbage. So what is the story? Also, like, look how cute, like it's all trans-colored, whatever. What is the story of this book? So, Jeremy, which is this is Jeremy, this is Lucas, and they are exes. Basically, they are in high school, and Jeremy and Lucas used to date, and then Jeremy broke up with Lucas without telling him anything, came out as a trans guy a few weeks later, during summer vacation, came out as a trans guy a few weeks later, and then came back at school as a trans person. Jeremy is also a cheerleader and a rich-ass kid, and Lucas is a quarterback. Yeah, quarterback. And so it's them getting back together, basically. The story of the book is them getting back together. And Jeremy trying to see his new identity in the new school. And a lot of it is just Lucas being like, I don't understand why I got broken up with. I guess he just doesn't like me anymore. And Jeremy being like, I broke up with you because I thought you wouldn't like me anymore because I'm trans now. But except he's bisexual. He ends up being bisexual, so he's like... So they get back together. So, this is also a Two Voices book, so both of them you read. My biggest issue with this book is Jeremy. The trans character. The trans rep is awful, and that pains me from a trans author how bad this is. Like, Jeremy is an insufferable... Jeremy is... I will say insufferable a lot as well. Jeremy is the epitome of white tears. He's the epitome, he's trans, but it is really very much a cliche of like the gay, white, privileged guy that will cry about being the most discriminated against person in the world. Except it's a trans guy instead. A gay trans guy. And that's an issue, because Jeremy is an... I wanted to punch Jeremy so many times through this book, truly. My good thing will be the cover for this one, of course. He's basically needs all the attention of everyone. Fucking Jeremy, like I am so angry at Jeremy. He needs the attention of everyone all the time, and if attention is not on him, he will take it as a personal crime. Like, the amount of times he's just rude to people for absolutely no reason. He fucks over Lucas, which is his ex. He fucks over his best friend. He feels superior to other queer people because he hangs out with them, because he's more popular than them. He's like, oh, I'm doing them a service by hanging out with them, basically. He is pretty much... He's not transmed, but he feels extremely transmed. For people that don't know, transmed is transmedicalist, so that's trans people that... Or like people in general that think that if you're trans, you have to do all the surgeries, all the thing, all everything, or you're not actually trans. There is a non-binary POC person within this book, and the character feels very much as a cliche non-binary quirky character that's just here for representation, and you do 2-in-1 because they're also POC. And Jeremy hangs out with them like once or twice. They're mostly Lucas's friend, and Jeremy is basically like, oh, I'm doing them a service because they're so weird and stuff. Okay, he constantly like feels like talks like he's the most hated and like discriminated person against in the entire book all the time. Even though dude has one bully through the entire book, there's one person that has an issue with him being trans through the entire book. Like this, maybe two, through the entire book. Most of the people support him and are happy for him and are like want to help him. He gets into his dream college. He is once again fucking rich. He's head of the cheerleaders. Everything he wants happens in the book. This book is basically the story of Jeremy acting horrible to everyone and everything all the time and getting rewarded for it. And everyone apologizes to him, even though no one should have to, basically. Like, he gets fully forgiven for everything for no reason. Even though he's the one that keeps fucking up and doing weird stuff all the time. It is like extremely unnerving. Especially when in front of him you have Lucas, who actually has issues. Like, poor Lucas has a shitty time with his parents, struggles with his autism, is trying to understand why the fuck Jeremy left him behind. And his feelings for him because he didn't know he liked boys as well, and everything, and continues to be constantly extremely sweet and nice and understanding to Jeremy, even though he continues to fuck him over on the other side. Like, at some point, Jeremy steals Lucas's wallet because Lucas was put in charge of buying stuff for the school for like a ball or a party or something. He steals his wallet to steal a card of the school and gives it to a random guy. For no reason. Just because he felt like fucking up Lucas's life. Even though he knows how hard it is for Lucas and stuff. He just does that for no reason. Like, when he's alone, he will be like, I'm so hated, everyone hates me. Oh no, I want to be back with Lucas, it's so hard. And then the second he's with Lucas, he will act like an asshole and be like, he pissed me off. And Lucas did nothing. Lucas did absolutely nothing. Justice for Lucas, I'm begging you. Also, this is mostly me ranting about Jeremy, because Jeremy is more than half of the book and is the main issue. He is... boy oh boy. He is extremely homophobic, transphobic, and misogynistic within his thoughts. And you hear his thoughts all the time. And as a trans person, it is horrible to have to constantly read about him being like, no one will ever love me because I'm trans, basically, all the time. And everyone hates me because I'm trans and all of this. Even though it's showed repeatedly that that's not the case within the book. And he also has very homophobic and misogynistic thoughts in general. A lot of them are supposed to be like him figuring out shit, but most of the time they're never like controlled or they're never pushed against. So that we just have that. And it's horrible. Because no one like corrects him because it's his thoughts. And he never corrects himself. And he always justifies himself being a piece of shit by saying, I know I'm a piece of shit, I know I'm a horrible person. Just because you say you're not a horrible person, that doesn't justify you being one. Just so everyone is clear. Just because you're like, I'm an asshole, doesn't justify you being an asshole. You still should not be one. Just because you're self-aware of being one, doesn't justify you being one. Like, please. But yeah, and I can, like, through the entire book, I kept thinking of young trans people picking up this book and having to read through it and feeling like shit. Like, I could see this book either making a cis person feel like trans people are entitled and horrible and just whiny little kids, and a trans person reading this book and feeling like utter shit because of it. Or feeling justified in being a bad person. Because I could also see, because this is a lot about rage and stuff, but made horribly wrong and horribly bad. And I could see someone who has the same similar kind of rage within them. Sorry. Like, feeling like the world owes them something because of the way they're being treated, even though Jeremy is not treated badly at all, but that's fine. And then feeling justified within that vitriol and just attacking people and being horrible to people and feeling justified in that. No, that should not be the message of your book, bestie. Like, also, like, something that pissed me off is at some point within this book, TERFs are mentioned. Someone is saying something to like, someone is pissed off at Jeremy, and Jeremy says, "Oh, this is because she's a TERF." And that's not the case. And then they explain what TERFs are, and it's like, no. Like, you could have made an actual transphobic TERF character that Jeremy could be like, oh, that's a TERF. That would have been fine. And the person in question that did this is actually transphobic within the book and then apologizes and shit. But that was not, like, the specific instance was not because of Jeremy being trans. It was because Jeremy is a fucking asshole. Oh, and of course the two characters of colors are treated like shit and as like little accessories for Jeremy, basically, because it's a non-binary POC character, and there's Jeremy's best friend who's also POC, and she's just treated as an accessory to then say to Jeremy that it's fine that he treated her like shit 24/7. Also, the writing style is not great. In case you still wanted to read this book. But yeah, like, it's just bad. So yeah, it goes on the pile. Like, to tell you, like, I wrote an entire page for this one. Okay. Then we have a book now that some people might be surprised if you have read this book, and if you know that one of my favorite books is of all time is The Secret History by Joan Hart. I feel obligated to say that the reason my water is cloudy is because I put lemon juice in it, lemon syrup in it. Like, I see the water looking when I'm like, I have to justify myself. If We Were Villains by Emma Rio. This is not a book that is on this list because it's a bad book. This is a book that is on this list because this book, The Secret History, which is somewhere on my black shelf here, It's actually usually next to the Secret History on that shelf, so it's not a bad book because the bad books go on the other shelves. The issue is not that this is a bad book. The issue is this book was written in 2017. Dark Arts: The Secret History was written in 1992. Why did you make very extremely similar book but worse? Like, if this book had been just this book and Dark Arts: Secret History did not exist, it probably would be amongst one of my most liked books. But because Dark Arts: Secret History exists, no, no. I do not understand people that have read both and prefer this one. I mean, I know some people do because in Dark Arts: Secret History, there are queer characters, but they're not canonically queer. In this book, they are, and even then, like, it's pushing a bit of a button to say that they are. Because, like, when it's like this last fucking chapter, and it's like, he was like my brother. No, actually, he was more. Bestie, shut the fuck up. Please, please. So, the main thing is, this is very similar to Secret History. Basically, The Secret History is a book about a group of students, 6 students I believe, in universities that study Greek and end up murdering their friend, and you basically learn how and why and what led to this, and it's a book about social class economics, about universities in the US and how rich kids are basically able to do whatever the fuck they want. This is basically all the book is about. It is extremely good. I love it a lot, even though I have my concerns on it. If you want more about The Secret History, I talked about it on my video about my favorite books. This book is about a group of students in the US in a university studying Shakespeare. They study English literature and more specifically Shakespeare. Of theater, they are theater students. They are not, yes, they are theater students, sorry. They study theater. They're a group of 6 or 7 kids at university studying theater, and one of them dies. Can you tell the parallels? Can you tell? This is also so fucked by from ML Rio to decide to name some of the characters within her book the same name as some of the characters in Dark Arts: Secret History, but they're not the same character. Like, there will be, let's say, Jeremy Allen White. I love my joke. Jeremy Allen White, and she decides to call Jeremy Allen. Like, that fucks you up when you're reading, right? So that already was a terrible idea from her. But yeah. And this book starts with our main character is in prison, and so he's telling the whole entire story of the murder of his friend. The death of his friend to the police officer years after the fact, once he's out of prison. Explaining finally to the police officer what happened. After 10 years in prison, I believe. Huge spoiler for The Secret History, of course, but the main difference between those two books, story-wise, is that in The Secret History, they never get taken by police. They end up being able to go scot-free. Which is kind of the message of the book. It literally is the message of the book. And the real tragedy is that they managed to do that fucking murder, and that it haunted them and pushed them and everything, and they still managed to go free, and that fucks them up, and none of them survives that, either psychologically or physically. Like, some of them, the characters, I believe, kills themselves at the end of the book. So yeah, like, the point of like, it's so important to me for the book that you kind of know they're not going to get, like, persecuted. Baby boy finishes in prison in this one, so you know. So yeah, let's go point by point about the other issues. First of all, it didn't correct any of the issues from The Secret History, it just added more. So that's already, like, if you read a book and you're like, oh, I could make it better, and then you just don't correct the issues of the book, That's on you. And the main problem is, like I said, Naruto Secret History came out in 1992. You cannot... And some of the issues were issues with racism or with homophobia and stuff like that. Like, something I said about Naruto art is that apparently... I haven't read any of the book, I really want to. But apparently an issue she has is that she kind of uses denunciating bigotry as a, like, free-for-all, being able to say all the slurs she wants. So sometimes it really pushes and you feel like it pushes too far and you're like, we got the point, you didn't need to make him say the slur, you know? Like, when he's had a monologue 5 minutes before about how he hates people and stuff, those people and stuff, then he says the slur. You don't need to add the slur. Like, one or the other is nice, it's fine. Even though it works with your point. She does the same, but worse, because in this book, in Naruto Secret History, the main character reminds you all the time he is an asshole, he's conscious of being an asshole, he's a bad person, and that's what you love about that cast of characters. They're all bad people, they're all horrible people, and you love that they're horrible, you know they're horrible, and you're going into it, going to following horrible characters, and you enjoy because you know they're going to be shitheads. You know, they're spoiled rich kids with no manners. In this one, Oliver, so the main character Oliver, constantly they remind you how he's nice, he's so nice. Oliver, you really are the nicest one of us. You are so nice, Oliver. Oliver is not nice. Oliver is a piece of shit like everyone else. And like, it defeats your point. When you're trying to make me like a character and then that character says a transphobic slur, or a racist slur, or misogynistic slur, or is a piece of shit in general, you understand how that the message of your book is not working, right? Like, you're not denouncing if you're putting it in the mouth of the character that we are supposed to like. Or it's supposed to be a good person. Like, if it was... Because it's not even a case of him being delusional that he's a good person. Everyone around him is like, the book constantly is like, he's a good person. He is not. And that pains me. That pains me so much that Emma Rio read The Secret History and didn't understand shit. I would like to reiterate that this is actually a good book. I'm just very hateful because The Secret History is just so much better. Why would you read this? I mean, I get why you would, but like, yeah. Yeah, it makes, like, Emma Rio constantly tries to make the characters less accountable for their bullshit, and that really doesn't help. Another big issue is, so in The Secret History you have one woman. You have one woman in the main cast. That's not a lot of women, but you have one of them, and she's well written, and she's great. In this book, you have 3 women, but they're all one-liners. Meredith, okay, I'm going to try to remember the name. Meredith is basically just the femme fatale and lives for her boyfriend, and when her boyfriend dies, she becomes, she lives only for Oliver, basically. And she's just here for him whenever he needs her. Nothing else. Ren is the ingenue, which is very much like also a woman in theater, which would be smart if it was if they actually had a personality behind that, and maybe Oliver says I'm only like this, but no, they're just like that. Ren is just the ingenue. She's Richard's cousin, and she's like little and cutesy and everything, and yeah. And Philippa is the mother character. She just takes care of everyone and stuff like that. She constantly takes care of Oliver all the time. So we have 3 women, and all of them are very specific archetypes and never go outside of those archetypes and only live to serve the men within the book. Mainly Richard and Oliver. Richard is the one that dies. So that's a big issue, right? Like, why? No. Like, it pains me so much that that's the case within this book. That the women are only defined by the men around them in one line and to be used by those men. There are characters that are literally only in half of the book or less that are more defined and we know more about than any of the women in this book. And the women are a lot more in it. Philippa is maybe the only exception, but even then she's not that defined compared to others. Everything is so messed up. Yes, these are the books I don't like. And even, like I said, this book is good. It's just that the issues with it are to me so big compared to the secret history, it annoys me so much. The plot, a lot of people really celebrate the plot, saying that it's very well planned and everything. I agree, it's very well planned. I did see most of it coming though, but I know that's a me issue. This is going to sound like me rizzing myself up or something, but usually in books I see stuff coming from a while away. I will be like, oh yeah, this will happen. And then people will be like, I never saw this coming. And I'm like, I saw it coming from chapter 2, but that's fine. This is what happened with this book. I was like, it's very well planned, but it's a bit obvious to me, like, to put, like, very, very clear indications of what's going to happen later. But yeah, that's the whole thing. The whole issue of this book is how underwhelming it is, basically. It gives you hopes, and then it just... Okay, so now this is going to be a plot point that really annoys me. Most of them are plot points that really annoys me, to be fair. Oh, I'll add that to the woman stuff. There is one gay character, apart from the main two gays that then get canonized as gay way later on. There's one gay character. He's the one that, of course, does drugs and does such jokes that are not great about consent. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go fuck a different guy every time. That's the one gay character. Thank you. When you know that this book is very much sold a lot on, yeah, it's a secret story, but it's actually queer. Fuck off. It is, but fuck off. You can't sell me on that. That's not actually true. So, within this book, a big thing is the cops. They are a lot more present than in the secret story. Because they're trying to catch who killed the guy. The thing is, right? It was an accident. No one actually killed him. It was a full-on accident. And it was an accident that was caused after the guy in question was horribly abusive to everyone else within the theater group. So, Oliver ends up going to prison for this crime, because the guy that actually did it, which is also his love interest, except from Meredith, the guy that he kind of has a crush on and stuff, is in love with. He's like, he would never be able to survive in prison, I need to take the blame for him. That was not needed. And then he goes to prison for 10 years. That was not needed. I can see a multitude of options that they could have done that would have resulted in less prison time or no prison time. Either you go to the police and you tell them, hey, this is what happened. The guy had been abusive with us for months. They have proof of the abuse, by the way. They have teachers, they have a lot of people that have seen it happen. So, like, they have proof of the fucking abuse. So, you go to the police and tell them, hey, this guy had been abusive for us for months. This is what happened. This is how he basically tortured us. And this is actually what happened. He was pushed. I can't remember if he was pushed off by accident or if he fell by accident. But one or the other. And no one went to save him. And you can just lie saying you went to go try and find help and you couldn't and he died in the... Because basically the way he died is that he fell in the lake. And died. Because I think he was too drunk or something along those lines. I don't remember. But yeah. You can like bullshit the end of like you didn't just look at him die. You actually tried to find help and whatever. That's fine. That would be like legitimate defense, and that would be fucking fine. Less prison time. Then you have also the even better option, which is that the police had no proof that they did it. The police, first of all, the police lures around a lot of time, even though the investigation is closed. The case is closed. They tell you that in the book. They're like, the case is closed. Why the fuck is the police still here? Usually if you... I'm not good with laws and stuff, but I'm pretty sure if you go see the director of the university or someone in charge in your university and you say, hey, so you know the case, the closed case about our best friend that has been in our year for multiple years and we've been a group of friends for years and years and years. You know that friend, yeah, that died 2 weeks ago. I'm not exaggerating, by the way, literally 2 weeks. That died 2 weeks ago, that was put as an accident, which it was. But just they think no one was involved. That's how the thing ended up being classified. You know this guy, Yeah, that we're all mourning very intensely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's a police officer that's been asking us a lot of questions about him, even though the case is closed. And he's on campus, even though he doesn't have the right to, because the case is closed, so he shouldn't have to investigate here. It's you can't just go and stuff and take... Like, that's not how that works. Yeah, so dude would not be able to go back on campus after that. Usually. Also, does he not have a job? I know he's the police officer, that's not an actual job, but... does the police task force not need you for any other fucking cases? Because the dude stays on the campus for so much longer after the fact, even though the case is closed and he should have been assigned to something else. Why is he here? Why is it? I don't know. And also imagine you're a cop and you're so sure that someone was, like, something happened, whatever. The guy ends up in prison. 10 years later, he accepts to tell you what actually happened. And he tells you, yeah, it was an accident. I would be so pissed. Because that's basically the thing. It's like 10 years later, Oliver goes, like, the police officer and Oliver end up talking again. Because he was like, I'll tell you after I finish my sentence. And he is not in the police force anymore. And he just tells him, yeah, like, what happened. And what happened is that it was an accident. Like, I would be so disappointed. But yeah, the police had no proof. They shouldn't have been there to start with, but also the police had legitimately no proof. If him and his... I think his name was James. I can't remember. I'm going to call him James. But if Oliver and James, so the gays, had decided to just not say anything to police, they had no proof. No material proof. They had one anonymous person telling them it was them. That's all they had. So yeah, they would not have gone to prison. You don't go to prison for a murder that has zero proof. Because there was actual proof of the murder, but Oliver moved it, so at that point, no one knew what... I mean, only him knew where it was, and then he told police where it was. And that's how the police got the proof, and he got persecuted for it. But yeah. I know that technically the whole point of the book is that the guilt is so high and it's so hard to live with the guilt, so that's why they end up crumbling, and he ends up taking the blame for James because James wouldn't be able to survive in prison, blah blah blah. The thing is, why do you have guilt over an accident? I mean, I understand having guilt over an accident, but everyone in this book acts like they actually murdered him when they did not. And like, why do you have guilt about a crime you did not commit, bestie? Please. My last big issue with this book is kill your gays. Of course, they had to kill the gay. So, Oliver goes to prison for 10 years. James kills himself at some point. He goes out of prison, he learns James is dead. The only reason I can see why he would actually kill himself is, especially because he killed himself, like, I don't think I should be saying that much. He unalived himself very, very close to when Oliver ended up getting out of prison. So that makes no sense. Like, because then they would have been reunited, it would have been great, blah blah blah. The only reason I could see for this book to do that is a plot device. Only for the book to be like, oh, you have a last little shock of, oh my god, he's dead. No, not him. Also, it was the only character I really liked in the book, so I was really pissed. But yeah, like, there's so much, and I'm like, okay, thank you. Like, it was not needed. The shock value is bad. It doesn't do a got you. It doesn't work at anything. Like, you just end up reading that and being like, oh, well, okay, I guess. Also, I have annotated. I usually annotate my books when I have stuff to say, and this one is heavily annotated. And I just laughed because I opened and this page just says, makes no fucking sense, but okay. I love my annotations. But yeah, like, first of all, Oliver finally admits that him and James had a thing, that he had a crush on him and whatever. Extremely late in the book, and says something about the brotherly love as well when he says it. So like, great queer rep. And then James died. So yeah. Like I said, I would still say that this is a good book, but there's so many issues that could have been worked over, that could have made so much better. Every annotation be like, what the hell, makes no sense. No, I mean, a lot of them are. I have also some highlighted quotes and stuff. Like, there's some very smart things within the book, and it pains me that they're kind of ruined for all of that. I love, this is page 37. I say Richard will die. I was right. That's why I annotate my books, because that's why I know when I guess the plot. And by the time I wrote this message, he showed that she wrote for the first. Nice, yeah. Have a lot of, especially during the end. Yeah, like, sorry, I'll stop reading my annotations. But yeah, it's just so much disappointment. Oh, also, another thing I wanted to say. There's a lot of Shakespeare quotes within the book, because of course they talk about Shakespeare, like they play Shakespeare, so they talk about Shakespeare a lot. I'm not someone that studied Shakespeare, so I'm sure if you know where the quotes are from play-wise and what they mean within the plays, I'm sure they're very smart. Yeah. Like, something, like what I meant by the book is a bit obvious at times. I resaw it, so I want to find it again. Within the start of the book, at some point, where is it? Here we go. There's a roll call here, and basically, the roles that they end up having are the roles that they have in the book. Oh yeah, they basically they get asked a question of what a tragedy. Like, this year we will devote our attention to Shakespeare's tragic plays. What might that course of study encompass, do you think? And basically everyone's response is their role within the book as the story. And I think that's very smart, but that's also a bit obvious, like, because then it's Alexander, source material. Philippa, structure. She's the one that's a mom, and she's the structure for everyone else. Ren, imagery. You don't do shit in the books, so that works for you. Meredith, conflicts, internal and external, indeed. Me, so Oliver. Fate versus agency. I don't really agree, because you had a lot of agencies that you just did not take. I know there's the whole thing of like, it's fate, you had to be found out, but it's not really. James, the tragic hero, which dies at the end, of course. And Richard, the tragic villain, which dies at the start. So yeah, there's a lot of very smart things within this book. It's just, I get even more annoyed when I see something that's so good and ruins itself, basically. Here we go. The sign of despair, always, always. It's been an hour, we've done 4 books. Wow. That's good. Okay. Then we have The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I know there's a second book called The Atlas Paradox. I will not read it. I don't give a fuck. So, The Atlas 6 is the story of 6... are there 6 or the 7? Yeah. 6 persons within a world where you can do magic and shit. 6 people getting chosen to be able to study for 1 year for what is basically the Lost Library of Alexandria. So they get a year to be able to study there, and at the end of the year, 5 of them will be able to continue their studies and get chosen, basically, within a secret society of elites. So they have to basically make sure that they become the best of that group, so that they can then do that. They all have like fields of expertise and stuff, and they have to like become the best of the best, basically. So, and it's written like knowledge is carnage. It has an eye and stuff. You would think, me saying that, you would think this is a Dark Academia book. Clearly talks about knowledge stuff. No, everyone puts it in the fucking Dark Academia. I'm so sad as well because like the original cover for this was so pretty. I wish I had an original cover because at least I would have a pretty book. I mean, the book is still pretty, even though it has the TikTok sensation sticker on it. But the OG one was really, really pretty. It tries to pass itself as a Dark Academia book. It is sold as a Dark Academia book. I do not agree. Because I don't think you can fit within Dark Academia when all the parts of you that are Dark Academia had skipped within the book to put more space to character, relationships between each other, and fighting. Like when you said, oh, they're all going to be in the Library of Alexandria to be able to like do research, you don't think them fighting ninjas and trying to just fuck each other 24/7 in all sense of the term. Yeah, exactly. So to me this is a lot closer to Battle Royale than Dark Academia, so I don't agree that this is Dark Academia. The first thing I will say, within this book you have illustrations of the characters. Here we are. Here we go. So you have illustrations of all the characters within the book, like this. I have issues with the illustrations are very pretty. My main issue with them is this is clearly an illustration that was made in color and then got put in black and white, because the values are fucked. And that's the case for all of them, and that's really annoying as an illustrator, because that should have been fought in black and white and then put in color, or done two versions. Because like, look how muddy that ends up being. Like, this blends into the background because it's the same fucking shade of grey. Like, it would have been so easy, but no. My second issue with the illustrations is that we have a bunch of them and we don't know who is who. And you'd think, well, the 6 of them, you put them back together. I would agree. There's more than 6 illustrations. Yeah. Some of the side characters also have illustrations. So I'm trying to get a specific one. So then you end up being like, why would this character have an illustration and not this character? And you don't really understand, and you have to try and find who is who, and it's a bit annoying. Like, for example, this is one of the side characters. Why are you here? Why him more than another one? Like, it's stuff like that where then you end up... Because one of the first thing I did when I discovered there were illustrations is try to be like, oh, who is who? And I was like, oh, maybe they're like next to the chapters. That's not the case. Maybe it's like in the order that you introduce them. That's not the case. Like, yeah, that's so dumb. Thank you. That is extremely dumb. I'm trying to find a specific one. I'm so sorry. Here we are. Because I have something to say about this specific one. So on my book I have little, you can't really see, but in pencil I wrote who is next to the illustrations. And I think I'm right, but I could be wrong. Like, that tells you. So, you see this illustration? Which is here. This is a spoiler for a scene that arrives around here. Why would they do a spoiler? I think racism. And I'm not joking. This is not a joke. Because this book has racism issues. The comeback. Basically, there are 3 non-white characters within the main cast. There's a black guy, there's an Asian girl, and there's an Hispanic Latin guy. The Asian girl doesn't speak a lot, does martial arts, and has plant powers. The Hispanic guy is extremely flirty and romantic and all of that bullshit. And the black guy, you wouldn't think is at all a racist stereotype at first. He's quite calm. He would never really fist fight anyone. He would never like fight anyone. He would never really do that. It makes no sense for him to fist fight anyone. He's someone that's really calm and really in talk and stuff. So why would they do a fucking illustration of him with a knife, looking like he's about to kick some ass, and like a bit bloody and stuff. Yeah, I wonder why the only black guy character is pictured like this, even though that's literally the antithesis of what he's like. And there's this one fucking scene with him with a knife at the full end of the book, and that scene is a spoiler that he has that, and that you see him like this, because then you spend the entire book being like, why the fuck does he have a knife? That makes no sense. And then you arrive to the scene and you're like, oh, I got fucking spoiled. Buys the book. Yeah, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. And I think, reason for that is racism. Because they, of course, chose to show the black guy holding a knife. Like, because all of the other ones, and I'm not joking, all of the other characters are shown just either how they are or with always stuff that like define them. So like, for example, she's just thinking and being thoughtful and thinking. Like, it's not like they're all in action scenes or whatever. She's just doing literally nothing. Hello, Lizzie. There's a guy that has like, he's just having a drink. Like, you see, it's a lot of like normal stuff. And then him. Why couldn't you just do a pose of him reading a book or something? Why did it have to be him fighting? Yeah. Like, I don't like to, like, because I know how this sounds. This sounds like me jumping the gun. But like, why would they do that otherwise? Most of the other illustrations of this book are just the characters doing nothing. Why does you need to do specifically that scene? Like, I'm genuinely asking. I'm not saying it was intentional. I'm saying it's first of all stupid and second of all racist. Especially when you know that the other POC characters in this book are racist stereotypes, like... Now it's time for a callback for our good friend, the biphobic stereotype. Because you thought it was only going to be racist. No, it's also queerphobic. Where is she? There's a girly pop that's bisexual in here. And guess... Oh, the hell, Gideon. Where is she? Oh, also, like, yeah. It's her. Guess who loves to, mind control people to try to have sex with them, and also constantly have sex with everyone, and controls people with her body because she's pretty. It's a bisexual character, yay! Yeah, so another fucking bisexual cliche, of course. Like, it's tiring at this point. Yeah, like, she literally goes to people's rooms and stuff and sleeps with different people regularly and tries to turn one of the girls to sleep with her and kiss her and stuff. And she has mind, like, altering powers, if I remember right, and she, like, yeah. So that's great. Like I said before, everyone tries to sleep with everyone within this book, and I couldn't give less of a fuck. I am someone that loves kind of romantic plot points and stuff, but this book was so much that, and I do not care. I'm sorry, but I know that it felt so hetero to me. I know that, like, if you put 6, and not all of them are hetero, there's one bisexual, but like, if you put 6 hetero people, 3 girls, 3 guys, in a room, I know that stuff will happen during the year and stuff. I'm fully fine with that. But they won't just try to hump each other 24/7. They will maybe work at some point on the fucking project that will make their life. Maybe. I don't know, maybe. And then you have those scenes that are very, like, insisted on and actually written, and then you get to scenes where they are clearly doing experiments and working, and it's just skipped. You're just, oh, we're done with this, we've just done this. That was the part I wanted to read about. And it feels like it's so insulting. You're selling us the wrong book. This is extremely annoying. Anytime anyone is doing the fucking plot, it gets skipped. like, it promises you so much and it gives you so little. I literally said in my notes, doesn't deliver on the promises. Instead of mystery and academia, it's Love Island and fights. Okay. Now the last thing about this book. The last thing about this book is the ending. There is a twist ending, you see? And the twist is very bad. The twist ending is so bad. The twist ending is so bad that when I was finishing the book, even though everything I said, I was like, I mean, I wouldn't with retrospect, because afterwards you realize a lot of the issues that you didn't realize while you were reading, but while I was reading, I was like, you know, there's a lot of issues, but I would be open to reading the second book to know where it goes, because I'm a bit interested, I'm a bit curious of where the story goes, because, yeah. And then a twist ending happened, and I literally went, no, I'm not buying that book. I am fully not interested in that book anymore, because it felt like a spat in the face. It felt like someone spit in my face. It felt like someone looked at me and was like, oh, you kinda like this book, even though it's shit, you kinda like a bit of this book? Fuck you. The twist ending is so bad. The twist ending ruins the full book, makes a That was the time for this. Thank you, thank you. Ruins the full book. Makes a character a pedo, and makes another character a victim. A girl that's supposed to be quite strong and very independent and very in charge becomes a full victim, gets kidnapped, and all of our agency is left like this in a few pages. So that's great. And a character that you followed with for full time that you're like, oh yeah, clearly something's going on with him, but we don't know why. We get a full thing of what he actually is, and then yeah, now he's a pedo. So that's great. Like, it's in a book, when you have big mysteries and big twists, a thing that's really nice is seeing it coming. Either you try to guess and you have little points within the book that's like hints at this, and when you reread it, you're like, oh fuck, this makes a lot of sense. Or either, and even if you haven't guessed it, you will, like, it's good to be able to be like, oh, I see where this comes from, instead of having, like here, a twist that makes no sense, but the whole point of it is telling the viewer, see, you're surprised, see, you're shocked. And why do I think this is that kind of twist? Well, because there's a bunch of little twists within the book, and they're all like that. The book constantly tries to surprise you and shock you, but never actually delivers on the surprise or the shock. There's a lot of times where characters get killed and then come back a few pages later. Like, there's literally a scene where it's basically that on repeat for a little bit. And it's like, I have no interest in this. I don't even care if any of them dies now. And I'm a firm believer if you want to kill a character or make a huge character decision like that, stick to it. You have to be extremely good at writing and making really an interesting and good story for me to be able to be like, oh, I'm glad you brought that character back, and actually they're not dead. Even if it's my favorite character, I like good plot decisions that are like ballsy, not just for the sake of shocking, but like that makes sense, and I'm like, oh, okay, now there's stakes. They could have done that. No. Instead, they decided to do weird build-up of stuff with doing a bunch of, oh, you're shocked, aren't you shocked? Ah, don't worry, he's back. Oh no, aren't you shocked? Aren't you shocked? Ah, don't worry, he's back. On repeat, and it's... If you want to make sure your book has no stakes, you do that. If you want to make sure the reader will get invested in absolutely none of your characters, because they'll know nothing will happen to them, because you've proved to them over and over again you're not going to actually deliver through the promise, and they cannot trust you, so anything that happens to any of the characters, they won't have any actual like interest in it, because they know they can't trust you on either you will actually do it or not, then it doesn't work anymore. Because even if you actually do kill a main character, then what will happen is they will be like, oh, well, he's going to come back. And if like 20 pages later he's not back anymore, it's like, well, I guess he's actually dead. But you don't have that actual shock of like, oh, fuck, they killed him. Because you will actually realize he's actually dead like only like 20 pages later and be like, oh, well, I didn't really care anyway, because why would I? So yeah, that book is bad. I did not like this book. Ah. My book pile fell. Give me a second. Since they're on the ground, I can't just leave them like that, but then my chair will move on them, so it's not great. I'm back. Oh, the next one is a big one. Oh, fuck. And they all are. Before we get to that next one, I'm going to do a little bathroom break, so I will be right back. I'm back. I do think it's very funny that my censor screen says no spoilers, and when you take it off, you have a little guy saying spoilers. I think that's very funny to me. So, next book. The House in the Syrian Sea by T.G. Klune. Okay, let's go. T.G. Klune is a very beloved queer author until very recently, when not very recently, but recently, because of this book basically. I bought it and then rented very swiftly after. It was great. There is something that happened in the US and in Canada called 60s Scoop, and residential schools. What that is indigenous and black children who are taken from their homes, put into those schools, and then to get adopted by white families, and also to get stripped of their heritage and of their culture to try to integrate them into North American society. It's a very big event in those communities, of course. It's very important, and it's very traumatizing. T.J. Klune, as a white man, read about the 60s Scoop and residential schools, and went on an interview saying, I knew I couldn't write about it because I'm white, so I decided to make this book instead, where instead of saying they're kids and stuff, I made them fantasy monsters. Do you see the problem here? So that's great. And even without that issue, that book is not good. An ex-friend of mine recommended this book and was like, it's so good, and I read it and I was like, it's not, I'm so sorry, it's really bad. So yeah, the first big issue is T.J. Klune reusing native trauma and as a white man for his fucking book. That's great. So this story is the story of Linus Baker, which is a 40-year-old single man that works as an orphanage checker. Basically, he works at checking orphanages. Yeah. He's at the Department of Charge of Magical Youth. And he monitors orphanages. So he gets sent to monitor an orphanage that's on a little island that people haven't monitored in a while, and yeah, that's the story basically. He goes to monitor that one. First of all, I hate Linus, but also Linus hates cats. Linus has a cat and treats his cat like shit. That is such a red flag. I'm so sorry. How do you want me to like your main character if your main character treats his pet like garbage? Like, if your main character is mean to his cat, I'm not going to like him. It doesn't matter. Why would you do that? Then, Linus is a 40-year-old professional that has been at a job for like 15 years or something. And he constantly acts like it's his first day on the job, and he's unaware that racism exists and discrimination. That was a new one. Okay, hello. So it's great. He is constantly acting like discrimination and racism doesn't exist, and he's just discovering about the concepts, even though he's been in that industry for so fucking long. Like, there's a difference between someone that is aware that those things exist and ignores them, and someone that's discovering them. Slightly late. And he's also just bad at his job. He's supposed to be a professional that has been doing this job for years and years and years, and he consistently is shit at it. He will criticize children that are under 10-year-old for things that they cannot control, for things that they just are. He's like, oh, you shouldn't judge the children, and then spends the entire time just judging all the kids all the time. So, the plot is also that he falls in love, he and the director of that orphanage fall in love, and then decide to stay together. The thing is, within that love story, there's a huge issue with, for me, the predatory gay stereotype. So, Linus is 40-year-old. I think the love interest is 45 years old. So that's fine, right? Yes. The issue is, Linus constantly describes him as looking youthful. but it's always anytime he does a compliment about his appearance or says he looks good, basically, he adds how young he looks and how that's good, basically. Because anytime he will say something positive about him, it's he looks so young, he looks so everything and stuff. Like, you'd think he looks like an 18, 20-year-old because of how he describes him and compliments him on looking youthful 24/7, which is, I'm sorry, but like as a 40-year-old, that is extremely creepy and feels very predatory, even if it's not because of the actual age gap being fine. Like, this is just horrible. And when you know that there's such a big issue within the gay community with celebrating youth and celebrating looking youthful, and older gays being predatory towards younger gays, that is extremely, to me, bad. Like, if you want to write a couple that's 45 and 40-year-old, make them 45 and 40-year-old, please. I don't care that within the book there's a reason why the love interest looks youthful. He could look slightly younger than his age. Like, he could look, he's 45, make him look 30. I don't know. But you remark on it once or twice, you don't remark on it 24/7 and only when doing compliments about him. That is so creepy and so uncomfortable for the people reading, like, honestly. There's also an issue with racism within this book other than the 60s scoop thing. We have the character of the caretaker, which is one of the first characters you meet. And I also annotated this book. I say, as you see, no, my annotation. Oh, here we go. And like, oh, here we have an example of the thing. Knowing this gay story makes me so uncomfortable that the main character's first thought about the soon-to-be boyfriend is he looks like he's 18, 20, 25 when he's 45 and I'm 40. Like, literally I wrote that within the book. Like, because I think he says specifically, like, he looks 20 years younger than he is, so that would mean he looks 20. And, like, yeah. Oh, here we go. See that whole paragraph? That's about the caretaker. So she goes to find Linus at the train station to get him to the house where the orphanage is, basically. Okay, so so far we have the one black woman. She's barefoot, very strong, caretaker, a bit rude, drives recklessly, and has white hair with flowers in it. Can you be more misogynoir stereotypes? Or and the caretaker and the caseworker apparently not knowing that racism is at 40 years old, having the weakest values, ever changing every 2 minutes, and very naive. The whole thing magic equal indigenous / black. This is so uncomfortable to read so far. And I was 70 pages in, which is not that much. Yeah, like, the caretaker is supposed to, she's also a magical being, but like, she's the one black woman you meet, and Gully Pop has no shoes, cannot drive, he's rude. Like, it's very much all the cliches you could think of a black woman was put into this character, and it's extremely uncomfortable, especially when you also do a parallel with black nannies of white rich kids within those years. Like, bestie, please, no, it is honestly so bad. Like, Linus is constantly surprised that stuff like racism exists within the book, and is very sad. Dude, it's literally your job. Like, oh yeah, Linus is also extremely inconsistent and hypocritical of everything. Like, he will say something like, oh, don't do this, oh, I shouldn't do this, oh, you shouldn't do this, and then do the exact thing. It is so annoying. Throughout the book, he has no empathy towards the kids or towards anyone for a big chunk of the book, and then one day he just wakes up like that and has empathy. Like, it's not like he slowly learns to like the kid. No, it's just one day he decides to be nice. And now he's nice, I guess. Like, why would you write it like that? It's so bad. Also, the writing style has a big issue. Basically, the writer, in his head, sees the world and stuff in a very specific way, and forgets that this is not a visual medium, and we don't see what's in his head. And so, he will describe things in a way that just does not work. If you don't see stuff the exact way that he does, which was my case. For example, when I started reading the book, the way it was written and the way it was described felt to be very like the show The Office. That kind of energy, like very reality TV, a bit, like stuff like that. And then there's a scene that's described that's extremely cartoonish, and clearly he had a cartoon kind of image in his head when he was writing it. Except it makes a bit of no sense to write it like that. And, like, if you describe something but you've done no prior work to make us think this universe would have that kind of logic, it just is extremely weird. Like, you just are in an office environment with, yes, it's magic and stuff, but like an office environment. And then he ends up in a huge corridor with all the lights off. And then he goes at the end of the corridor, and all the lights go on, and there's like people on the top of huge how's it called, desks, looking down at him, waiting for him, judging him. It's like, it makes no sense with how the world has been described that this would look like this. Also, I don't know if this scene could ever work in a written media, because it just assumes that you see everything like, I mean, it could, I'm guessing, with someone that really does it well, but it was really described like a show or a cartoon thing, but when you're reading it, it's so out of place. It makes no sense for it to be writing like that. So the writing is very inconsistent like that. Sometimes clearly the guy had very specific images in his head and wanted to show them, except it doesn't work because it's not consistent with the rest of the story. It just does not work. There's also heavy fat phobia within this book. I am someone who's fat, and that made me extremely uncomfortable. Linus is a fat character. He gets shamed and mocked because he's fat throughout the full fucking book. And he is very conscious of being fat and does not like being fat and has a lot of self-hatred around being fat. And one day, he just passes from self-hatred to I don't care. Not from I love my body. Because the person that sold me this book was also fat and was like, recommended me this book, was also fat and was like, oh, it's great because there's fat representation and stuff. No, the fat rep in this book is horrible. I checked, after finishing this book, I checked, and TJ Klune is thin, and you can tell. I mean, it's not thin, but it's not fat by any means, and you can really tell with the way he writes fat character. Like, at the end, instead of being like, oh, I look cute, or oh, I actually like how I look, Linus is like, well, I look silly, but I don't really care. Because he wears something that's a bit, like, short or something, I think. Like, shorts and, like, a bit, like, close to the body. It's like, oh, I look a bit ridiculous, but it's fine. No, like, that's not how... Okay. And we go from extremely fat-phobic stuff to that. It's like... Okay. That's fine, I guess. Yeah, it's like just from very, very fat-phobic to just erased. Yeah, exactly. This one I agree with. Predator I've said. Yeah. So the thing with this book is that a lot of people forgive, I'm guessing, or like forget what happens in the first half of the book, because the second half is a lot more fun. It turns into a fun family thing. It has a sad, happy ending at the end, where everyone's happy and together. And so I'm guessing a lot of people just like have that nice feeling of happy ending at the end of the book and are like fully forgetting the rest of the book. I don't personally. I don't think it salvages anything. Also, T.G. Klune is very pro-police. He made a book that is extremely pro-police and doesn't surprises me, and continues to make other books that are also taking advantage of native people and indigenous people culture. So fuck him. Yeah. So next we have, I talked about a lot of gay books, now it's time for the lesbian ones. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So, first of all, the cover is so bad. Like, I'm sorry, I hate this so much. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is a book about Monique. Yeah, I know, you would think it's Evelyn. It's a book about a girl called Monique who's an interviewer and who's going to interview, who gets asked to interview Evelyn Hugo, which is an old Hollywood starlet that is now extremely old. And so she gets asked and she goes. And Evelyn asks her to write her memoir because she's going to die soon. She's really old. She had a very long life. And she asks her to write her memoir. And so this book is the memoir, basically, and bits of Monique's life. Interacting with Evelyn, and why did she ask her specifically to write the memoir, like stuff like that, you know. So, first of all, Monique is not needed. I would like to say that Monique is not needed within this book. She adds nothing. Anytime there was a chapter about her, sorry, it was very much like just a filler thing of, oh, she interviewed her, and yeah, great. She has a little bit of plot, but you don't care. Like, if you buy a book written The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, you want to learn about the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Evelyn Hugo's life, which has a life that's much more interesting than Monique's because she's a Hollywood starlet through old Hollywood and movie and everything. Where Monique is just kind of random girl number 4. So it's a bit like, anytime I had a chapter with her, I was like, you don't bring anything to this book. Please leave. She literally serves nothing. She just adds worse things because basically one's the reason of why Evelyn asked her to do her memoir arrived. First of all, it's something that's not Evelyn's fault, and Monique takes it against her. And Evelyn is like, it's my fault. It's not hers fault, but it's fine. And then like just is not great to Evelyn afterwards because of it. It's like, that's great. Thank you very much. Like, to me, this book would have been a lot better if just it was the fucking memoir, and then at the end she was like, and I want to ask her. Sorry. And I want to ask her, this specific girl, to write it because of this. I feel like that would work a lot better than just having weird chapters of Monique within it. Then, our good friend biphobia and racism are back. There's also lesbophobia added to this. So, Evelyn is a bisexual character. And through the book, she has a romance with a woman, and they have beards, so fake relationships with 2 of their gay friends. So the 2 guys end up together, the 2 girls are also together, and they pass it as like 2 couples of friends. When in reality they are both together, but in another way. Does that make sense? So, they do that. The issue is that Celia, I think her name is Celia St. James or something like that. She is described, she is supposed to be Evelyn's one true love through the book. She is extremely biphobic, and that's an issue because Evelyn is bisexual. So they break up multiple times through the book, and most of the time the reason they break up is biphobia from Celia. So first of all, I think that's not great to make the one lesbian character a biphobic, toxic person. I don't think that's great, honestly. And second of all, it just makes their relationship so bad because most of the time you want them to be together and be happy, but you can't because anytime they're fucking together, they end up having fights about, and one of them is biphobic. It's horrible. It's so annoying. And also Evelyn is also kind of the bi cliche of sleeping with a lot of people and stuff, so double trouble. Now is the issue with racism. There's 2 issues with racism in this book. As you can see, Evelyn Hugo, yeah, no, she's not white. She's supposed to be Hispanic. The issue is she talks about it like once or twice within the book, and then yeah, bye-bye, not addressed anymore. Which is great. That's amazing. So yeah, you just basically ignored, and a lot of people have talked more specifically on why the rate of the racism within this book, but you'd have to go and look at creators of color that are you know, either Hispanic or black or mixed and whatever, about specifically why this is bad. Could I have, sorry, I have a little bit of it, but of course, being white, you know, I'm not going to talk on it nearly as good as someone who's a part of that community. But yeah, she basically denies her identity as a non-white woman and then lives life as specifically as a white woman through Hollywood, through those years that were extremely racist, even though she is not white. And they tried, like, the author clearly tried to whitewash her, being like, well, she changed her name and she has blonde hair, so now she passes as white. Thank you, bestie. But yeah, it's like never brought up again after a while. There is a second POC character within this book. That character is Monique. Monique is biracial. Her dad is black and her mom is white. And she has a whole speech about being biracial that is extremely uncomfortable to read, and felt extremely white to me, and that was kind of weird. And I just wanted to highlight this because I won't read it because I don't know where it is, but like I remember it a little bit and I was like, okay. Like the book overall feels like she did not have any women of color as sensitivity readers, as sensitivity readers. And as a book that has the two main characters are women of color, maybe you should have. Maybe you should have. Just a thought. Maybe you should have. So that was great. And now we get to the writing is also the writing is okay. It's not great. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. Now we get to my biggest issue with this, except from the racism, lesbophobia, and biphobia. This book is a kills your gays fiesta. Like, if you see a single there is many queer characters within this book, because it's about queer characters. It's supposed to champion those queer characters. They all die. And they all die in horrible circumstances. 2 people die of illness. 1 dies in a car accident. And so Evelyn, the last queer character, kills herself. She unalives herself. She does this memoir that she says to Monique, and immediately afterwards unalives herself because she does not want to be alive if she's out. I don't know if you can think of how shit that message is. A character is she had an incredibly successful life, still extremely successful, even though her life was shit for her because she lost the love of her life. She went through horrible marriages. She lost her daughter to cancer, I think. And she's like, I'm going to do my coming out. I don't want to be alive after that. I waited for this to die, basically. Like, I'm sorry, but the message to queer people about reading a book where you put a bunch of queer characters and not one survives. It all arrives horrible shit to them, constantly. And they live sad lives. Successful, but sad lives. To the point where the last surviving one doesn't want to be alive anymore after coming out. She doesn't want to be alive for her coming out. Like, it's literally in the book, it's like, she's like, once that secret is out, I don't want to be there when it's out. Like, no one could touch her. Nothing would have happened to her. She's like the level of fame where nothing would have happened, you know? So it's like, why? It's because no queer people can be fucking happy in this book. And that is extremely violent for queer people, to write a full book about queer people, supposedly I'm guessing for queer people, and none of them are allowed to be happy or alive. So yeah. No thank you. The only one alive at the end is Monique, and she's heterosexual. So another TikTok classic, Lenches and Lattes. Give me a second. I didn't say something positive about Evelyn Hugo, wait. Or the Syrian Sea. For the house in the Syrian Sea, I'll say I did like the story of the director of the orphanage. I did like that character. For Evelyn Hugo, I'll say I did really like I did like some of the romance aspects of it. There were some really nice moments, especially how much Evelyn cares about her daughter. Basically, she really wants a child, and she fights to have a child because she basically has sex with her husband at the time, which is a gay man, and they decide to have a child together, and she fights for her child through the full book, and she ends up being the one that has cancer and dies. But it's really sweet. She has, I think that's a really cute arc, even though you could also say that it, once again, is like, oh, she's a woman, of course she needs to have children, but you know, and Sias and James decides to hate the kid for no reason because it's a show that she had sex with a man. I really like Celia, so it really fucked me up when she was so horrible. Okay. Legend and Ladders. I'm like worried because it's going to be 11 and then I'm not going to have to talk about anything because I just have one more book. 2 more books actually, but one more physical one on my phone. Well, we'll have to cancel a bit early, but that's fine. So, Legend and Lattes. This book was so fucking pushed. I'm happy I have this cover though, because it's so cute. It's like a little chalkboard, and you have the actual like original cover inside. Which a lot of people also have this illustration. So, Legend and Lattes is the story of Viv, the orc, and she is in an adventuring party, and after years and years of adventuring, she decides to quit the adventuring party to open a cafe. So she chooses a little place in a little town, and she starts her cafe, and it's her story of her doing a cafe. And no one is used to it because they've never seen cafes before. They haven't ever had coffee before even. So you know, lots to build. So, what are the issues with Legends and Lattes? This book feels like if you've ever read another fantasy book and you like fantasy, don't read this book. But if this is someone's first fantasy book, that could be fine. But this very much feels like your friend who had a fun D&D session and wants to write a book about it. That's not a good idea for many reasons. It feels like that, and not in a good way. My second issue with this book is Succubus. Okay, so if you know D&D, when seeing her, it's really because she's a half-orc, but when seeing her, you might be like, "Oh, that's a tiefling. That's a tiefling. So cool, orc tiefling romance." No, that's a succubus. I fucking hate the concept of succubuses, because it's just the same. Like, it's just the whole like, oh, it's supposed to be like a message about not all succubus are how you think, and not all half-orcs are how you think. She's an half-orc and she has a coffee shop and she's like gentle if she wants to be. She's a succubus and she's not trying to get in everyone's pants. But just the concept of succubus as a whole, I hate. That's a personal thing, I know. But yeah, did not like that. You could have just made her a tiefling. It would be the exact same thing without the sex aspect. It's just not needed. It's just uncomfortable, I think. Then, the bakery in itself is a weird concept. Because it's a cafe, and so they have baked goods and stuff. First of all, Viv's idea is she went to a dwarf city, and she discovered what coffee was and what coffee shops were. And her first thought was, oh, this great dwarf art that only happens to exist in dwarf lands, I'm going to take it and make it somewhere else and take it as mine. I mean, she never like says I made like coffee or anything, but still. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. It feels very, you had your first travel to Japan and people aren't used to matcha yet, and then you make a matcha coffee shop in the country that you're from. Like, I don't know, maybe leave that for dwarves people to, decide to make it themselves if they want to. Maybe leave that to them. I don't know, I don't like this. It's very white guy that does an economics degree energy, and I don't like that. Also, the food and what exists and what doesn't exist within the universe doesn't make a lot of sense. So we know that coffee is only in dwarves land and stuff, that's fine. Within the book, there's a few times, basically they get a pastry chef, and the pastry chef invents pastries. He invents Christmas cookies, like gingerbread cookies, croissants, and cinnamon rolls. It doesn't make much sense that some of these would not already exist in the universe. I get like cinnamon rolls and croissants, I'm like, okay. I guess that, yeah, they would not know what those are. Spiced biscuits, they would not know what that fuck is. Like the most basic spiced biscuit, they would not have, no one would have ever thought of making that in a D&D universe. They had spiced biscuits in medieval ages. Like, there's a few things like that where you don't really know what's supposed to exist or not exist within that universe, and it just feels like it's like, oh, I want him to have like a little coffee shop with spiced biscuits and with gingerbreads and cinnamon rolls and croissants. I'm going to put you down because you keep falling. And not really thought about the universe at all, which is an issue. You should think about the universe you're writing in, and it makes a lot of sense that the person that wrote this, he was like, this is D&D, everyone knows the universe, so he puts zero thoughts in it, which is an issue. That's not how that should work. If you want to make a bakery and decide that your guy invents little baked goods, then you need to know what within your universe exists and does not already exist, and what makes sense and what doesn't. You have a tavern not long from there that has bread and stews and stuff like that. If they have bread, if they are far enough to make bread as something very common, it makes no sense that no one would have tried to put spices in bread. So cinnamon rolls and spiced biscuits should already be something they are accustomed with, or at least have already seen, or something similar. So the fact that it was fully invented and no one knows what they are and they've never seen that before is weird within universe. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, as someone who knows how croissants are made, I don't think you could make them in that kitchen, but that's okay. Yeah, it really fucks me. I'm someone that's will try to think about the logic of a scene and why it makes sense. So when there's something like that that really makes no sense, hello motorcycle, out of anything, I really pick up on it easily, and I'm like, I don't like that. So yeah. So now the main two issues also I have with this book is nothing really happens. Like, there is plots and subplots, but they don't really matter. Like, it's mostly just she does a coffee shop. People try to make not the coffee shop happen. It still happens. Like, it's kind of boring and very slow and pacey, and it's a short book, but it could be shorter, honestly. And the last issue I have with this book is there's no chemistry between the two love interests. They kind of just like you wait for them to start to warm up to each other and become and have links and stuff, and like they become buddies, they become friends, I would say, but they never really have a spark of flirting. And then they're just together. Like, to me, the romance is not well written at all. I'm someone that I think is very easy to get with a romance. Like, in a lot of books that I don't like, I will still be like, okay, yeah, the romance was cute. And I'm very easy to overinterpret romances. I have so many ships that are not canon that I'm like, this is so canon. So, for me to be able to tell you there is nothing between those two characters, it feels like they don't even, like, have anything. Really, there's nothing. Like, it is wild how little there is. Like, I am so sorry, but yeah. There's a second book in that series that came out that's like a prequel, I think, of Viv's past as an adventurer, and I don't think it would be any better, so I'm not going to... Also, I'm not a fan of fantasy. To start with. I've been very, very happily surprised with quite a few books of fantasy from reading more fantasy because they were queer. So I'm very happy with that, but that also has reinstored me that there's a type of fantasy that I really don't care for. But if it's well written, I will care and I will love the book despite of the fantasy. So that's really nice. But also, yeah. And it's just like weird fantasy. It's okay. I don't really care. Okay. Then we have Before We Disappear by Sean David Hutchinson. I am so sad that this book is bad because look how gorgeous this cover is. Look how pretty that is. I will have to say I am very pissed off at this edition specifically. Though, even though it is gorgeous, because, well, first of all, look at this. Wait, can you see? Yeah, you can see here. That's not straight. And on the top, either is not straight. It should be. Just so you know, it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be straight because they're all supposed to be similar. They're not. So you end up with, I'm trying to find a good one. With chapter pages. Like, that's the fault of the editor, not of the author, but still. With chapter, like, they have these cute little things at the top of chapters. This one is not cut correctly, because I don't know if you can tell, but you have, here you go. There's a little line of white here. So it's very, like, low and stuff. And there's white here on the end of the page, because that was printed too low. So they fucked up the printing a lot. Like, by a lot. Like, here you have almost the full shape. Here you have only half of it. There's some of them that are very short. Like, this is nitpicking, but this is a hardcover copy of a book. Like, here you only have half of it. Like, see how much shorter that is compared to the other one? And I'm sorry, that's the kind of thing that should be. What's the fuck? This is Harper Teens. So this is HarperCollins. This is one of the biggest editors in the business. This is one of the biggest publishers you can have. And they're not capable of making a straight thing of here. And it's like, when you pay a book an extortionate price, and then it's because you want a pretty edition for it or whatever, or it's the only one that's out, because they do that now. They will print bigger books or hardcovers before they print paperbacks, so that people buy for the harsh price. And like, they're all fucking, like, this one is almost a full thing. Like, there's even, I think, 2 pages that were like glued together or something when I had this book. Like, there's a lot of printing issues on this specific copy. I don't know if it's this copy or all the copies are like this. Like, this is a $20 book. This is $20. And it's fucked all over. Like, I'm very annoyed, honestly, still, that this book is like this. Like, it's not that hard to make sure the editing file has all of the things at the same size. So yeah, that's just like a little more visual issue, but I think it's still like important. Like with books getting more and more expensive, and it becoming more and more of a like issue to be able to read the books that you want to read and not have to read whatever you're able to read or to get your hands on, because books are becoming more and more expensive. To make sure that publishers are actually doing the work they're supposed to be doing and not slacking off. There was an issue with HarperCollins and a boycott, wasn't there, a while back? I can't remember. I think there was, because I think that's why RF Collins changed publishers, or like something along those lines. I can't remember exactly. I know it was a while back. I know it's not the case anymore, but I think they were in a publishing boycott because of how shit they were. So yeah. Now let's speak about the issues of the book. First of all, the author is racist. I don't remember the book being that racist or having that many issues with racism. It's a bit weird, but the author is racist. So that's great. Yeah, basically someone called him out on one of his other books, I think. Someone called him out for racism online. He blocked the person, and it was so bad that friends of the author went to DM the person to say sorry. Like, I'm sorry, Bestie, shut the fuck up. So yeah, he has a history of racism. I don't think there was, at least I haven't seen issues with racism in this book that I remember. I read it a long time ago, so there could be shit. But yeah. And in addition to that, the book is not even good. So, Before We Disappear is the story of those two guys. He is a magician's assistant and is trying to make money and be able to just work on the road and stuff. And him, his sister, and his master are going to the biggest fair, like the International World's Fair, I think, that's happening in a specific city, to do their magic shows there. They don't put his name. I think it's Jack. Yeah, he's Jack, and I don't remember the name of the other character. Give me a second. Okay, here we go, Jack. Willem. He is Willem. He was kidnapped because he actually can do real life magic by he was kidnapped by a man that is very cruel with him and uses him to do thievery, and then this man decides to go into magic, and so he also decides to go to the World Fair, and that's how they meet, and that's how they become gay and stuff. As they get together and stuff. The characters are very one note within, like, it's not the worst book I've read, but it is quite bad, I think. The characters are very one note. The villains are so Disney villain coded, like Laszlo. Laszlo is the name of Willem's kidnapper. He is horrible, but he is like a Disney villain. Like, he will be like, oh, I will kill you and cut your legs and I will hurt the ones you love. But the way he says it and the way he does things feels very like there is no actual thing that will happen. Like, it feels not threatening. It feels just like a villain telling you, haha, we'll do this. And then nothing actually happens. Like, I remember reading this book and Laszlo trying to be so threatening and so mean, and everyone being like, oh, he's horrible, he's the worst person ever, especially Willem, because he has so much trauma from this man, and me not feeling once scared or frightened or really like he's an issue. I don't know why. I know he does horrible stuff within the book, I remember, but it's like, it's written in a way that doesn't actually make you feel like he's a villain. Same with the Enchantress, which is Jack's mentor. Step up your game, Laszlo, exactly. The Enchantress, which, like, she's supposed to be this kind of like evil stepmother energy character, and she's just okay. She's not that bad, especially compared to Laszlo. She's not that bad. It's like the villains have nothing. Also, this is a world in which racism exists, but not homophobia. And it's not explained. There are POC characters that live... I mean, knowing that the author is racist, that might not surprise me that much, that he lets POC characters go through racism, but he doesn't let queer people go through queerphobia. But yeah, the few POC characters that go through very racist shit, and the two guys get together and no one gives a fuck. And so weird, because the rest of the world is supposed to be very, you know, realist to the time when it takes place, because I think it's the 19th century, the 20th century, it's 19 something, like around those energy. Oh no, turn of the 19th century in Europe. Here we go, 19th century. And so it's like, people in the 19th century weren't cool with queer people. Like, why? It doesn't make much sense. If, like, why would you do that? Like, it's not explained. Like, it's just, it's not really a complaint, it is one, because, like, it's kind of puts you out of the book when they are explicitly queer and gay in the street or outside or in front of people, and no one cares. And you're like, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop and nothing happens. Like, that's just bad writing. Yeah, nothing feels really important within the story. The writing is not great. That's my main thing, is like the writing is a bit boring. The characters don't really... You don't feel a real attachment to them. They don't have any weight. Like, I don't have that many specifics compared to the other books I've talked of. But when you read it, you really feel like it doesn't matter. You don't really care about anything. And nothing is great. Like, I don't have specific examples because everything is just meh or bad. So you're just reading and you're like, yeah, it's cool. I don't really care. Yeah. Like, it's not, I know it's not as impactful hate-wise as when I say, this person did this. I mean, there was the racism stuff, but when it's like more specific stuff, but, you know. And then we have our last book. I don't have Kindle anymore, I don't think. You won't have a visual for that book, and that's okay. I'll just look up the author, because I said the author for everyone else, so. Because I used to have Kindle for those books, and then I read all the books I cared, so I took out the Kindle. So here we go, Free Men to Be, this is the cover. And this is a book by M.N. Bennett. I will once again remind people that I have gotten that book for free through how's it called? Through a thing online where people were like, respond to this if you want to get free books, and I got free books. And I thought they were going to be physical books and they were all ebooks, and I got very confused. Because I had people emailing me their books afterwards. And out of all the books I read, some were really good. One was actually really cool. Most of them were meh. A few I haven't read because I didn't vibe. And this one was not great. This one was so not great that I didn't finish it. And I never not finish books. So, Free Men to Be. I can't fully... Like I said, I can't fully criticize that book because I have not finished it. But the big issue that made me not finish it, even though the writing is okay, the characters are fine. This is a Boku no Hero Academia fanfic. This is the My Hero Academia fanfic. And at first I was just like, oh, some characters are similar. Then you realize, no, it's just a fanfic and they changed the names. Like, I wish I was joking, it's just a full-on fanfic. And at some point, the scenes are so similar, the characters are so similar, and I don't care about your headcanons. I know this author's headcanon for Boku no Hero Academia because of how they wrote this book. And at some point I was like, no, it must be me. So I looked it up, and the author on Twitter has said that Boku no Hero Academia is their favorite manga. So, like, it can't be a coincidence. This is a book that's basically, Aizawa is the main character, so the teacher. And it's an Aizawa, I think it was Aizawa and No Mic. I can't remember if it was All Might or the other one more. I don't remember. I think it was kind of a mix of the two as the love interest. And yeah, there is Bakugo, Deku, and Kirishima and Ochako in the fucking class, and I can tell because of the fucking description. Like, it's honestly, if they would never, because that book is not popular enough for that. But if the author of Boku no Hero Academia wanted to sue for stealing his ideas, he would be able to. This is Boku no Hero Academia Harry Potter fanfiction, because they have powers that are more Harry Potter like vibes, like magic in that way. But that's all the characters from Boku no Hero Academia. They just use them as little puppets. Those are not the author's actual characters. Like, they're all very similar. I can tell you that the author ships Bakugo and Kirishima together, clearly. Like, I hate it so much. I hate it so much. Because then, the book was not that bad. But then you spend the entire book being like, oh, they wrote this that way because it's a reference to this part of Boku no. Like, when you know the manga or the anime, you spend the entire time reading, being like, oh, this is a parallel to this, oh, this is a parallel to that, oh, this makes sense because of this makes sense because of that, this character is actually this character, I wonder who this character is up against. Like, you can't enjoy the book, so that's why I stopped reading, because I was like, I am not even really reading the book, I'm just thinking of Boku no Hero Academia, and if I wanted to read Boku no Hero Academia, I will read Boku no Hero Academia. Like, they didn't even fucking try. Like, I think the character that's Kirishima also has a hardening power. Deku also has, like, fucking notebooks and everything, and the powers. It's like, he has the power, but it's like a power that would make sense within Deku. Bakugo also has, like, an explosion-based thing. Like, it's all copy and paste. It's like, they didn't even fucking try to change anything. It is very sad. I think the, like, most changes that Kirishima has blue hair instead of red. But he still dyes his hair, which is a detail that is in Boku no Hero Academia. Kirishima has black hair and dyes it. Like, I was so annoyed because if you want to write a fanfiction, that is fine. Write your fanfiction, publish it as fanfiction. But stealing someone's ideas and characters to make your own thing with it, and then passing it as your own, I don't think is cool. I don't think that's okay to do, because that's just plagiarism. And I get really upset at plagiarism. I don't like plagiarism. I try always to be hyper aware of what I do for it to not be plagiarism, and then I get hyper stressed that I'm plagiarizing something without realizing. But yeah. That's all the books. And I have done 2 hours and almost 30 minutes. But yeah, that's a good slice of books, and I have my little notebook. Let me get back all the books on here. So we have boring, badly written, and also the author is racist. We have please learn to do something else and just write your D&D campaign, your first D&D campaign, and maybe learn about your world if you want to write a world, rather than just write something and don't give a shit about it. Biphobic, lesbophobic, racist, and kill your gays to the extreme. The author is a racist piece of shit that is taking native trauma to make his books, and also his book has horrible fat phobia, and is extremely predatory vibe within the gay characters, even though nothing really happens, and the character is insufferable and a bad person. Tries to be Dark Academia, but actually just is a Hunger Game vibes, has racism issues, has biphobia issues, and doesn't give a shit about the actual story, just wants to make you say, ah, there was a twist here. Plagiarism is fun, but maybe, just maybe, if you want to rewrite someone else's book, make it better, not worse. Transphobic trans people, homophobic gay people, can't write, like, bad writing style. It's just painful, extremely painful, makes you want to punch the main character in the face. +16 books that look like a 12-year-old could read it. Cares more about making a list of where the characters should have sex than actually giving them a plot. Also racist. one of the most insufferable main characters I've ever read. So fucking long, for no reason. Boku no Hero Academia fanfic. That was the summary of all the books we've talked about today. Gods. I'll have to put them all back. It's fine. You can't really see, but there's just a hole in the black one here, and then they're all in there. But you can't really see, but like the top one here, the top one here is very, very empty now, because there were all the books that were in there. The only book that technically also could work, and I haven't put, is Cinderella is Dead by Catherine. I forgot her last name. And I didn't take it because, like, I think I didn't like that book. I really didn't like that book, but I think I didn't like that book mostly because of my own tastes than because the book is bad. And I remember when I did book talk videos, I did not do a video on that book because it's rare enough to have authors, black authors, I don't know if she's queer, but I'm guessing she is, that do black queer stories. And just because it's not of my taste, I shouldn't shit on it. Like, I think it's still stories that are very important to be around and be written and be read. And so I didn't want to shit on it, especially compared to all the other books that I have on this list. Oof. I'm towards the end of the bottle, so it's all like... it's all citrus. So it's hyper bitter, not bitter, acid. It's hyper acid, which I really like, but I'm trying to think if I can think of anything else to do to kill the hour, but I don't think I will. Also, my voice is shot from speaking so much. Like, my throat is very sore. I had the brilliant idea last night to sing for like... I sang not all night, but I sang a lot through the night. Like, I did a lot of guitar and singing breaks for a while, like a few songs, then I did nothing, then a few songs and something. And I did that like all night until like 6 AM, something like that, so that's a genius thing. I will have to try to... Oh, that's good, okay. I was looking at my planning and I have the writing co-working stream the day before the singing stream, so that's good because I won't speak too much then. But yeah, I have so many new songs. I've been doing a lot of guitar. Not specifically new, but like new for me. So I've been having so much fun doing them. So it's hard for me to not just want to sing and stuff all the time. Like I even sang earlier a bit, just in the... Because I'm alone at home as well right now, so it's very fun to just be able to like walk through and sing and stuff. Yeah, so this week's planning, I'm just going to talk about the planning again. Yeah. So, tomorrow we have a Film Tuesday. I'm going to do Juno as a crow person. It's going to be fun. On Thursday we have another painting stream where I'm going to finish the paintings that we started last time and probably do some sketches afterwards. On Thursday we have the writing co-working stream. Since I'm done with editing my script, it's going to be first of all, you're going to see what I write, but also it's going to be prompts, writing prompts and stuff, so it's going to be fun. And on Friday we have a guitar singing stream at 3 PM instead of 4. Friday is also Juno's birthday. I think she streams that day as well. She said she will stream, so go see her after this stream, of course. And I will not stream on Saturday or on Sunday because there is a streaming charity event in France and I really want to watch it, so I put my off days on those 2 days instead of my usual Monday and Thursday. Here we go. If you ever need that back, you can that schedule back or any of the info, you can find them on Discord or in my links, specifically on my Twitter, where I post a lot more. You can find all of the VODs on my YouTube as well, because since I'm not affiliated or anything, the VODs leave after 6 days on here. So yeah, you can find everything on my YouTube. I also make content that's only for YouTube, so nice. real shout outs as well for the friends as always, for Juno and Ziki, if you haven't checked them out. And I'm going to go now because I'm pretty much done. I've milked this as much as I could. Bye bye, Ziki. So yeah, see you all tomorrow for the Film Tuesday. Yeah. Bye bye. Thank you for hanging out. This was very fun. I'm leaving with like great timing. Thank you. Thank you, KG Chaos, for following. Amazing timing. Okay, I'm going now.